In the approach, the hybrid approach, what we have done exactly, like, okay, so we just converted the previous script into functional pieces. So what we did, for every small functionality, we created as one function, and we are driving those functions from spreadsheet, right? So we created one more Excel file where we listed out those functions. Okay, so whatever the flow that needs to be executed. Okay, now how the script will work is, data will be taken from Excel. Data will be taken from Excel. So we are taking the data from this, and next is we are I know the execution flow has been defined in the sheet called execution flow.xlsx. So we are reading the flow from here. We are reading the data from here. Okay, and then okay, so we are initializing the log file. So and then what we are doing is exactly right now I'm executing only for one data set, that's data set 2. So the data set number 2 means in this PAM, this is the data set. So it should be, yes, but okay, not required. This is as of now. This okay, we are not taking care of. The data set means the second data set. That means execute with credentials. Execute with credentials. Okay, so I'm executing only for second data set as of now. And the flow, how I have defined here, the flow has been defined like this. How the flow has been defined: first it has to execute close browsers, then it has to execute launch application, then it has to execute login, then it has to execute navigate to add employee page, then it has to execute entering employee details, then it should execute employee credentials, then it should execute save employee and validate, and then it should execute logout. Okay, so this is the flow that I have set up in the spreadsheet. So according to the flow that what I have defined, then it should execute the same flow. Okay, now let me execute the code and see what will happen here. I might debug line by line and then will execute. So, and I will not debug every function, but only the main script that I will be executing. So step 4 I will be using wherever the function call happens. So I just got into the step into now. So what's the first one I'm doing here? I'm just defining the DLL path. What is the DLL path here? We have defined various methods in the DLLs so that if I load those DLL, I mean, if I want to use those methods, then I need to create the instance of that class and all whatever is there inside the DLL. So I'm going into the step into. So I'm just creating the instance of each DLL, each class. So here I said Sattva.xl library, I've defined it 2 times that class because each class is for one workbook. So this is for, one is for data, another one is for execution flow. And then what I'm doing here, I'm loading the environment variable file. So what is coming from environment variable file? Then the master credentials and all I have stored in the environment variable file. Then next is, you say I'm just loading a WScript object. You will understand slowly why the WScript object has been used. Say get IP address. So get IP address I'm using, I mean, it's a PDF library.get IP address. We have seen that this method has been defined in the DLL to retrieve the IP address of the system where you are executing the script. So I'm deleting all the screenshots here, and I'm creating a folder with the test name, and then I'm defining the log file path here. Just this is common, as same as like previous script. And you say str browser to execute. What is mean by that? How I'm retrieving str browser to execute? environment, WSH, nothing but shell object. So from where the browser is coming, WSH dot environment of user dot item browser. So which means that it's coming from 1 minute. So properties, and this is where. So what is the browser that I have specified? Chrome.exe, right? Now, so str browser to execute, I'm retrieving, and you could see that that should be chrome.exe. I'll say control T there. So what is the value coming? Chrome.exe. That means whatever the browser which has been mentioned in that environment variables, then the same variable has same value has come here. Then I'm reading all the data from Excel to array. Just said read to array. So array is being stored internally to this class. Okay, inside the class only we have defined. So PIM, the data I'm reading to one array, execution flow I'm reading to another array. I'm getting the total number of rows from both data file, total number of rows, and keywords also, total number of keywords. Now, next what I'm doing, I'm initializing the log file. So initializing the log file means creating the HTML file. Okay, and so I'm just creating the HTML file here. So as soon as I execute this function, I don't need to debug this function because we already did that. So I'll just say 1 minute. I said step into, so step 11. So I just did step out. So what that does now, it will create the HTML file that whatever mentioned. What is that log file path? Log file is nothing but it will create in the results folder and with the name of the test. So log file, it will give the HTML file path. So whatever the file path you have given, then the log file HTML file will be created. Next, what I'm doing, I'm hard coding the dataset number here into dataset number equal to 2. Because right now, okay, so I'm just removing a data driven approach a little bit because it has to be created with complex script. We'll implement one by one. So that means for now the flow whatever I have defined, the flow should be executed with second data set in the data file. Okay, second data set in the data file. Now, so what it has to do here, data set number will be taken as 2. Now into total keywords, how much? Total 8 keywords are there. So total 9 keywords are there. So then it should execute from 1 to 8. You want 0 means first column headers only. So it should execute from first keyword to last keyword. So that means 1 to 8 it has to execute. So that's the reason I've given -1 there. Now what I'm doing is I'm retrieving one by one keyword from the execution flow and then I'm executing. How I'm executing? I've used eval. Okay, so to evaluate that keyword name. So I'm getting first BLN to execute column value. So what is that BLN column? BLN to execute, I'm retrieving this first. And if it is said yes, then it should execute that keyword. Now what I'm doing first, say str keyword, it went inside. So since okay, the BLN to execute returned as yes, that means for first keyword I said as yes, right? So it went inside the function, it will retrieve the keyword number. So that means it will retrieve from second row. Then what will be the str keyword? What is the first keyword that I have mentioned there? Close browsers, right? So now I just pressed an F into, now you can see that it went inside the function. Then it will close all the existing browsers that whatever are open. Now the first keyword has been executed. If there were any browsers, then it would have closed. Now next what it does, it will go to the second row in the execution flow, second keyword. Now what is the second keyword that it has taken? Let that line execute. Then what happened here? It says launch application. Now, when I say launch application, how it works? str URL is nothing but it is environment. Sorry, the URL is coming from environment variable, right? But where that from str browser is coming from? Okay, so external environment. But now we have retrieved the browser from here, right? Whatever the browser that needs to be executed, we are executed from here, right? But what is the variable I have used here? str browser to execute. But what will be the str browser to str browser now? It says that variable is not defined. That means first time that variable is coming, so that means that that will be empty value by default. So that this variable is different and this variable is different. So what will be there in str browser now? Empty. So if this happens now, see what will happen? It will open the explorer. When it says system.run, and if you give the empty there instead of giving the browser exe file, what it will open? It that's called explorer. It will open the explorer. Okay, so why it is being empty? Because this variable is nowhere defined. Now I say like this, the URL anyway. Now if I want to re-execute this step, I need to stop and then I need to come back because this line is already executed. So now temporarily I want to execute. Why this see, one of the problem that what we need to fix now is you need to, yeah, so the str browser was not defined and then you need to define the str browser and then the value should come into the str browser. Okay, so that's the reason what I do now. I'll say like this. So since okay this step is not executed properly, then I will go to the console. Temporarily I will execute it. Later on I will fix it. I'll say Control C. Since I need to stop it and then I need to continue, then that's the reason, I am, instead of stopping it coming back again, temporarily I will hard code the browser and then str URL anyway that has been initiated, so that value will be there in that. Now what happened? The browser has been launched. So this is what normally we use console for. So why we use console? To execute some of the lines temporarily in case if any of the line goes wrong and then you realize it, and then instead of stopping fixing it and re-executing, what you do, you temporarily you note down whatever the mistakes that need to be corrected, and then if any line is not executed properly, and then you execute temporarily to continue with the flow. So to execute that temporarily, then we use console. That's the use of the console normally. Then next what I'm doing, actually I have to use this one, write report, but I commented it for some reason, but I should have not done that, just for because other class also I used the same function, so that's the reason I commented out. Now the second keyword also has been executed. Now it goes into the third keyword in that flow. Then what is the third keyword? Login is the keyword, third keyword. Now login means, okay, so what it does, when I press on it, then you can see that it goes into a login. Which means login is not executed. That means that login function is not there. You have actually admin login function. Login I have not created. Right? So to continue with the flow, then what you have to do? I'll temporarily call that function. Okay, I said about unit testing, right? So we will do the unit testing, the integration testing, top down approach, bottom up approach, like that. So normally what we do is in the bottom up approach, the top down approach, this is what exactly we do. You see, each function is a unit. So now one of the unit to continue with the flow, then all those units should have been ready, but one of the unit is not working properly. When one of the unit is not working properly, what we do, since okay, admin login was not working, temporarily without any code, we keep that function ready. So nothing will be executed inside that. But whatever supposed to be executed in that unit will perform manually. But that there is one dummy unit placed there, and then we'll execute that event manually, and then we will continue with the flow. So what we are doing is top down approach now. But we should have done, since okay, that login event was not there, I would have created one login temporarily and then executed it. But even though I performed the temporarily that temporary event unit is only to fill the flow, that's it, but that nothing will be executed from that unit. Whatever supposed to be executed in that unit, you do manually, so that you can continue with the flow. So the login. So we have to correct two things now. One is the STR browser. Second one is the login. So I need to change that to admin login. Okay. For two types of login, employee login is one and admin login is another one. So we need to create two functions for that. One function is ready. Third event is navigate to add employee page. So I hope we have this function. Yeah, we have that, right? So I'll say function shift F11. So what it is doing, it's just navigating to add employee page, and then it's done. What is the next keyword? Enter employee details. Then enter employee details, you say int dataset number. What is the int dataset number? But what is the int dataset number here? Why it is being empty? Is it a global variable? Let's see whether I have made it as a global variable or not. Solution Explorer. Actually, I made it as a global variable, but still it has taken as empty. Let's understand why it has taken as empty, but as of now. So another thing that what you need to correct here. We need to correct one by one. Okay, so just you keep note down one by one that we need to see. Some of them we have the clue already, some of them we might not be have the clue. This is one thing that we don't have a clue, because even though we have hard coded it, but still it is not taking. Then we'll understand slowly why it is not taking that. Now you say enter employee details, then what it is doing, first it entered the first name, then it's entering one by one. Since it is empty, employee ID is not entered, then it should have selected the location. You can see the location has been selected, entered first name and last name, middle name is being empty. Now it went for next keyword. What is the next keyword? No, enter employee credentials. So employee credentials would be taken from same Excel file only, so that it would have been entering that. You can see that the credentials information is being entered. Now all the credentials have been entered here, if you see, right? And then next one is save. So whatever the flow that, click on save button and validating. So it saved it. Then what is the next keyword? You can see logout. I just pressed on step into and you can see that logout has been executed. What happened now? The flow has been executed. But if you look at this, nowhere I have specified what function need to be executed here, right? But how it is executing that? Because I have written that flow, right? Now I will execute. What I'll do is I'll come here and I'll change the flow. This time I don't want to execute with the credentials. Enter MP credentials. Is this the function that we created? Employee credentials. Yeah, this is enter employee credentials. Now you say this as no. What is meant by that? That function should not be executed. Okay, so when you say that function is not executed, should not be executed, let's see what will happen. Before that, I'll correct a couple of mistakes here. So one is str browser to execute. Whereas that login, it's there in common functions and that mean login, not a, say str browser to execute. So this should be fine. And the next one is admin login. So in the keywords, that has to be changed in the keywords. I'll say admin login. Okay, so I changed the keyword here. And there is one more here is, I don't know what's wrong with this, but for now I'll just check the solution. And I used to see it, it was working. Okay, so now what it should do, it should execute. Logout also should not be executed, I'll say. Logout also should not be executed. So it should execute without credentials this time. Right? So the selecting employee and all should not be done here. First one is close browsers. Second one is launch application. Yeah, this time it's launching. Right application only because it has been made as global now. Next, you can see login also being executed. Next is navigate to add employee page. Then it has to enter the credentials, sorry, details of the employee, not the credentials. So you can see enter details. Let's see whether the dataset number is still taken as empty or not. I'll just go for debugging. Dataset number is still taken as empty. Is it because into dataset number, into dataset number, into dataset number being a common variable, right? let it be. So this is something that we need to fix still. Okay, so anyway, I just manually updated that, and now I will execute. Now you can see it's entered the details. Now the employee has been saved without credentials. Also, if you look at that, logout is not performed, right? So in the next flow, what I want to execute without credentials only, but I don't want to launch the application because the application is already launched, and I don't want to launch the application and then I don't want to log in, right? So then what I do here, I'll say no, I'll say no for this, and this also I'll say no for this. Okay, right now. You can directly see it directly went for navigating of the page. You know the reason why it is taking empty? Okay, so if you look at that, inside the action, what is the value for dataset number? 2, right? Okay, now once I go set the function, what it is becoming? It's being empty, right? So you know the reason why it is becoming empty, because inside the action it has containing the value, but the problem is I've declared the variable where I have declared where it is in action 1, and also I have declared the variable one global variable, but now where I have initiated this inside the action. So now what it has taken is it has not taken the value into the global variable which I have declared in the function library. So it has taken the variable local. If you have declared a variable inside the action, if you have declared the variable inside the library with the same name, then action will be taking the variable which you have defined inside the action. So the variable which you have defined inside the action, this is what happens, you know, if you give the same variable for same name for two variables. So even though it is accept, it will accept, but it will be taking them as two different variables. One is a global, second one is a action. So inside the action, when you use it, then it will be taking the action variable. But if you use the same variable in the libraries, then it is referring to the global variable. So what I should do is, then I need to remove it in the action. Okay, I need to remove that now. So when I say this in data set, then that should be taken as a global variable. Now let me see here. Anyway, I can directly run this because it will not execute to log out, login and all. So it will directly go to the PAM page. Now also, if you see here, if you want to directly execute from here, navigate to add employee page, also you can say no. If we say navigate to add employee as no, that also will not be executed. So now in an execution, you have a control what functions to be executed, what functions not to be executed and all. Now, so navigate to add employee should be executed. What is the keyword? Navigate to add employee, why it is not executed? Navigate to add employee. Next is enter employee details. Now let's see here function F11. Now we can see what is the data set number. Is it becoming empty now? Now, even though I'm in the library now, I'm inside the function, so int data set number is remaining 2. Why it was empty? Because it was taking action variable. I have assigned the value to the action variable. So this is what happens when you declare the same variable in the in the library and in the action. The variable which you have declared in the library and that variable will become global as soon as you associate that library to the action. But if the variable is declared inside the action, then that variable will become the local variable for that particular action. So the value whatever you have assigned in for that variable in the action, that variable is available only when the cursor is inside the action. But when the cursor goes into the library, then the local variable cannot be used in the library. Okay, so remember, this is one of the common mistake that people will be doing. This is one of the biggest drawback, when it accepts same name for global and local. See, that leads to the confusion. Okay, so how I got to know that, when the cursor was after initiating it, when the first function was executed, the variable when I kept the cursor inside the action, it was showing the value whatever I have assigned. But when the cursor was coming into the library, it was being empty. Then I realized that, okay, so the value is there inside the action, but value is not coming into the library. That means that could have been in a local. Right. Otherwise, it would have been, that was a lot of confusion it creates. Why the confusion has come? Because we declared the two variables with the same name, one local and one global. So, if you declare the variables like that, then the script is not throwing any error. But what's happening? The assigned value is not coming. Okay, so that's something that you should always take care when you're implementing the standards. One of the scripting standard is no two variables should have the same name even though they are in different scope. Okay, so the script will be accepting that, doesn't throw any error, but only problem is it will pass the invalid value there. Okay, so one of the scripting standard that what you have to implement is no two variables should accept the same, sorry, should have the same name, not should accept, should have the same name there. Then so now you can see that, whatever the flow that you want to execute, you no need to come and modify the script. So the script will be like this, script will be like this. Then you can just change the flow there, right? And also parameterization is being done from the Excel file. But there is a small one more thing that you need to modify there. What is another thing that which you need to modify is, okay, so you have to execute for multiple data sets. As of now it executes only for, yeah, okay. Now 1 minute, what I'll do is, we'll go with one by one modification. We'll do a customized format. I'll give these two, or whatever is been S, then it has to be executed with these data sets. Okay, I'll customize the format a little bit now. One by one things that we will go a little. For I equal to, or into data set number equal to 1 to I'll say total data sets, set of total data sets minus 1. Global variable cannot be used as counter variable in the loop. Okay, so global variable should not be used as counter variable. That's the reason I have used counter variable as a different variable. Then counter variable value I'm taking into the global variable. Now what you have to do is BLN data set to execute equal to, you say, O Excel library get data from array to execute only. To execute, comma, data set number is nothing but int data set number. If BLN data set to execute equal to yes, so the whole flow should be executed for that data set. So I mean, this is one approach, but still we have to do a customization, because you have to see all kinds of approaches and then we'll come to one conclusion finally. Okay, so which approach would be better, and then based on that we will decide the final framework. So what this does now, it will go from first data set to last data set. For each data set, whatever is said as yes for the data set, then it will execute from first keyword to last keyword. Okay, so now what it should do is it should execute for 4 data sets, because for 4 data sets I have given as yes. PAM, because I need to change this, because this user has been created already. Or I'll go with the 28 and 29. This I'll queue like this. Okay, now let me execute the script. So I said logout is no, sorry, and launch application also no in the execution flow. So that launch application will not be executed, login will not be executed, all this. Let's see what will be happening now. So it went for create employee. But see, second time also it's creating without credentials. Third time also it will be executing without credentials. Why it is executing only without credentials? Because their enter credentials have said as no, right? So that's the reason that keyword is not executed. So that is the limitation that you get here, right? That's a limitation. So what I do is now I'll go to the PIM function. I will retrieve, say, not credentials. Inside the function only I will manage for now is say BLN with the credentials equal to say now with the credentials. I'll say from data file that I'm taking with the credentials. Then end if equal to yes. Save this. Okay, with the credentials, save as. Now what you do, come to the execution flow here. You say this to be executed. Okay, so this can be executed, but this will not be executed for all the data sets. Whatever the data sets which have got with the credentials as yes, for those only this will be executed. So while creating an employee, the flow to be executed is navigate to add employee page to save employee. You just save this. Now you run the script again. First data set, second data set with the credentials executed. So it has taken existing credentials. I mean, I should have been updated the employee ID there, but I did not update the employee ID. So there was an employee created already because in the previous execution it created. Or I'll just update manually and then I'll save this. Because the time script has been already completed. Okay, fine. So what happened now? It's executing for all the data sets and then it's executing in the flow that what I have defined, right? So now you are controlling the execution flow and you are able to execute for multiple data sets. Now, okay, so now when you have this approach, what you can do, you just simple, no need to write separate script further. The script will not be changed. For every test case, the same script it is going to be, but what is going to be changed is the data file name here and the sheet name will be changing, but the flow you write use the same code. You use the same code, but only thing is if you change for execution flow, another test case, you create another sheet and then define the flow, and that sheet name will be changing here. So whatever the sheet that you define here, it will be reading the keywords from that sheet and then it will be executing in the same flow. So that means, okay, this script is not going to be changed. So this also what you can do, you can parameterize. So that means you're not going to have too many scripts. You're not going to have too many scripts. You're going to have only one driver script. Okay, the flow is going to be changed a little bit. So what the driver script will be doing, you are going to create one more Excel file further. So to define the batch execution. Okay, so do this. You create like this. Single script only. First you say test case name and you say data file, data sheet name, data sheet name. You say flow sheet name. You say this. Now what it has to do, the same script only should execute for all the test cases. And now what you're going to do for one test case or for one scenario, you're creating one flow sheet and one data sheet. Right? One data sheet. So then what it does, it will execute one by one script. For each script, it will go to that particular flow. Script will be executed according to the flow that whatever you have defined here. So that means that we have changed the approach completely. The way you are going to design the architecture is going to be a little different for this. Right. So, but what you need is you need to have uh, you need to create another set of functions here. Okay, you're going to create. So we for let me say this time. I'll create couple more functions for one is for add training. Okay, so I'll go for add training, and then we'll execute this. Environment dot test name that you have got here. A lot of things need to be changed again. You say save as, but I will explain the skeleton, the framework again. First, let me implement the code. Say driver script. Okay, so I'm just changing a little bit now, the whole approach, but we need to create some more functions this time. Which repository it is? Is this a repository we are using? Same only, right? So that means add course is already there, and first name, last name also already there. So when you say add course, first you need to go to training. You need to click on courses. You need to verify the course list. First, you click on training, then immediately it will open the sessions first. From there, again, you need to click on course list. So let me just do this way. First, you need to click on browser start page dot link of training dot click. Then you say browser start page dot link of courses dot click. Remember, I'm not implementing error handling or all those things much, but we have to do that. But just for time being, this is a framework. Doesn't mean to only by flow. You need to implement all the standards, everything now. Browser dot page dot web element, right? Web element of HTML tag equal to h1 comma inner text equal to, what is that inner text? Exist. If it is exist, then you need to say write report. Write report. Status is P. Step name is click on courses link, comma. Expected result is application should be navigated to course list page. But wait, the validation is wrong. Course list. Application is navigated to course list page. Else yes. Call. You've got a function called, is it stop run or fn stop run? Finalize report, replace browser name and exit run. It's a stop run, right? Yeah. So this is for function navigate to course list. Course list page. You create another library. This time you say new function library. Where are our libraries? This is where you say training functions .vbs. So for one module, one function library that you will be creating, all the functions related to that particular module, you are going to store it. Now next you say navigate to add course. Then you say browser dot page dot web button of add dot click. Then you say course details. HTML tag equal to h1 comma inner text equal to so and so dot exist. Say write report click on add button in course list page. Application should be navigated to add course page. Application is navigated to add course page. Else okay, so it's navigate to add course. Then you click on this. Right? Okay, and next one is here. Enter course details. So enter course details. You say browser dot page dot web edit of add course, and then it is first title dot set str title. Okay, but what you do is now oxl library dot okay, what is you create data file training. So training underscore create course, something that you have written here. First one is description will be, you have to give the description. Create course, something say only mandatory. And next one is you build the combination. Okay, you have okay, as of now, because we need to write too much coding again, but I've written only one data set for now. Okay, so just to understand the flow, what is mean by a driver script and all, and we are going to write some AOM also now. And did we discuss about action parameters, right? Did we discuss about test parameters? We haven't discussed about test parameters, right? Okay, so you are going to see what is mean by test parameters now. We might not be able to complete the entire coding. Now you say what is that? Title, then coordinator name, coordinator name. Then you have version 1, version 2, subunit. Yeah, remaining are optional fields so that I don't give as of now. Only two are mandatory fields, right? Okay. So that's a data file as of now, just leave it. Remaining fields are not mandatory, but we need to write. So since just for time being, then I'm implementing, only this much. This also we might not be able to complete full. Okay. So what we have to do, first you say title, and this is should get from title. And next one is you have to say browser dot page dot web edit of. So it's a coordinator name. You say coordinator name. Okay. Enter course details. So I'll just entering only the details. Okay, so only course details. Okay. Next is we have to save that and we have to validate the details, right? Okay, so once you save this, I'll just give some details here. And then you have to say course details should have come here. So then function save and validate course right? So now browser dot page dot web button of save dot click if browser dot in between navigation points and all that you need, sorry, synchronization steps and all you need to add, but I'm not using any synchronization. Web element of HTML tag equal to h1 comma inner text equal to course details dot exist, then you say write report b, click on save button after entering details, then you say course should have been created, course has been created, then you say right. So then what I do, save and validate. Okay, so the now I've got some functions in training module. So one module, the all the functions related to the, one module, one function library, all the functions related to, see now you got three different types of functions that you will be having now. One is the common functions which can be used across all the applications. Second one is application specific functions like login, logout, or all those related to admin login, normal login, logout, or all this related to particular orange HRM only. And some another library is for module specific. So some functions which will be used only for that particular module. Okay, so three types of libraries that you will be having, and another library is global variables. So the global variables which will be used across all the scripts, and also you defined global variables. Okay, now this is common, no change. Only thing that what is going to be changed is here we are same script for everything, but the result file should not be coming like this. Okay, the result file should not be coming like this. What I'm going to do is now, after this I'll stop. I'm creating something called test parameters this time. Okay, so test parameters are used. This time we are going to use AOM for the execution. You're not going to open the script individually. You're going to use AOM. So what is the AOM? AOM, normally automation object model, which you control the UFT through the script. That's AOM. So through the AOM only, what you are going to do is you're going to open the test, that driver script. For each and every script that whatever you're going to mention here, you're going to write the test name here. So based on the test name that what it reads here, the same test name should be passed inside the code. Okay, so that means when you open the test through the AOM, when you run the script through the AOM, so from the text null, then you have to pass to the AOM. Sorry, to the script. So that means from the AOM, the script should be the sum of the values should be coming inside from external. So when you run the script, AOM is nothing but opening the test using external source, nothing but VB script or any other source, and then running it. So when you open the test through the AOM and pass the values when you open the test, okay, or pass the values from outside the test during runtime, or when you run the test from AOM, and if you want to pass the values into the script, into the test from outside, then use the test parameters. Okay, so test parameters will be used when you are executing the scripts from AOM or using AOM, and if you want to pass the values inside from the AOM, then you can use test parameters. Okay, so what I'm doing is now I'm creating total 3 parameters now. Okay, and 4 parameters that I'm creating, not here in the start. What you say here, select the start and go to view something called properties here, and I'll be creating you have in and output parameters. I'm creating 3 parameters now. One is input parameter, parameter name is, one is data file name, second one is Excel file execution flow file, second argument. Third argument is, you need to remember the sequence of those arguments. Then next one is data sheet name. Then you say, okay, so execution sheet name and data sheet name is going to be same. Okay, so then what you can do, you can have only the sheet name here. So execution flow name. So what you do is, you then for these three parameters, values should be coming when you run from AOM. Whatever the values that you get here, the values instead of test parameter name, instead of test name, because for every single script only, right? So for everything the script name will be same when used like this. So that script name should be coming from here, and the data sheet name should be coming from here, Excel file name, and sorry, execution flow file name, and data sheet name should be coming here. Okay, so that we will implement tomorrow. I'll stop here because that's going to be a little more complex. So tomorrow the same approach, what you are going to do is, you are going to write AOM, and then you will be understanding the need of test parameters. Okay, so that we will see tomorrow. Okay, so now, did you get